I still think about that night. It was just a normal road trip, one of those long drives where you talk about stupid things, listen to music, and eat gas station snacks. Nothing felt strange until we stopped. There were 3 of us, me, Tyler, and Josh. We were heading to a small town a few hours away for the weekend. It was late, maybe 11 p.m., when Tyler said he needed to use the bathroom. Josh, who was driving, groaned, but pulled into a rest stop off the highway. It was one of those isolated ones, the kind with flickering lights and just a few cars scattered around. No one was outside, no one was moving, just a few parked cars, silent and empty. Tyler got out and went to the bathroom. Josh and I stayed in the car, scrolling through our phones. A minute passed, then 2. Then, out of nowhere, Tyler sprinted out of the bathroom, running straight toward the car. His face was pale, his eyes wide with something close to panic. He yanked the door open and practically dove inside. "Drive," he gasped. Josh chuckled. "Do what?" "Drive," Tyler's voice cracked. "Now!" Then I saw him, a man, tall, thin, expressionless. He was walking out of the bathroom, slow and steady, his gaze locked on us. There was nothing on his face, no anger, no confusion, nothing. Just calm, deliberate movement. Josh didn't ask any more questions. He turned the key and floored it, the tires screeching as we sped toward the exit. In the mirror, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The man didn't stop walking. He started running. He wasn't flailing or sprinting wildly. It was controlled, like he was used to it, like he'd done this before. We shot out onto the highway. I exhaled, thinking it was over. Then the headlights clicked on. From the far end of the parking lot, a car pulled out of the darkness, an old, rusted sedan, and it was following us. Josh stepped on the gas, weaving between the few cars on the road. The sedan matched us. No honking, no flashing lights, just silent pursuit. I turned to Tyler. "Who was that?" Tyler's hands were shaking. "I don't know. What happened in there?" Tyler swallowed hard, staring at the road. His voice was barely above a whisper. He was just standing in the bathroom. Didn't move. Didn't say anything. Just watching me. The hair on my arm stood up. And then, when I turned to leave, he said... Tyler's voice caught in his throat. "Said what?" I pressed. He finally looked at me. He said, "I was waiting for you." My stomach twisted. Behind us, the sedan edged closer. The headlights were too bright, almost blinding. It was gaining on us. Josh gritted his teeth. "Screw this." He floored it. The speedometer climbed past 100 mph. The road was almost empty, just a few distant taillights ahead. The sedan matched us. No one inside was visible. No movement, no faces, just a dark shape behind the windshield. Then it swerved. Into the next lane, Josh cursed and veered right. The sedan did the same. It wasn't trying to pass us. It was trying to stay beside us. For the first time in my life, I understood real fear. Tyler was gripping his seatbelt like a lifeline. He's playing with us. Josh took a hard right onto an exit ramp. The tires screamed against the pavement. We skidded onto a smaller road, trees closing in on both sides. The sedan followed. Josh yanked the wheel again, swerving onto a narrow side street. The sedan kept coming. My chest tightened. There was no way this was random. "He's not just following," I whispered. "He's hunting us." Josh's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, and then, just like that, the sedan turned off its headlights. The road ahead was pitch black, no streetlights, no other cars, just darkness. And somewhere inside it, the man. Josh didn't slow down. "If we keep going, we'll lose him." None of us spoke. For 2 miles, we drove in silence. The road was empty. No sign of the sedan, no headlights reappearing behind us. Finally, Josh took a shaky breath. "I think..." Then we saw it. Parked on the side of the road. No lights, no engine running, just waiting. The sedan. I saw movement inside, a silhouette. And then the driver's door opened. Josh didn't hesitate. He slammed the gas pedal to the floor. The car shot forward, the engine roaring. In the mirror, I saw the man step out onto the road. I braced myself for the headlights to come on, but they didn't. He didn't move. He just stood there, watching us vanish into the night. We didn't stop again until we reached the town. Josh pulled into the first open gas station, all of us too shaken to speak. Tyler finally broke the silence. He knew. His voice was barely audible. Josh and I looked at him. Knew what? Tyler was staring straight ahead, his hands still, trembling. He knew we'd stop there, at that rest stop. My skin went cold. Josh exhaled sharply. "You're saying he was waiting for me," Tyler whispered. "Like he said. None of us slept that night. None of us ever took that highway again. And sometimes when I stop at a gas station, I check the mirrors." I've always been comfortable driving alone at night. The quiet roads, the empty highways. It never really bothered me. I drove long hours for work, and most nights I just focused on getting home as quickly as possible. That night was no different, or at least that's what I thought. I had just finished a shift at a construction site 2 towns over. It was past midnight, and I was exhausted. My back ached from hours of heavy lifting, and my eyes burned from lack of sleep. I just wanted a shower, a quick meal, and my bed. The GPS said the highway home was under construction, forcing me onto a detour through some back roads. Annoying, but not unusual. I followed the new route, winding through quiet streets and stretches of darkness. That's when I saw the car. It was parked on the side of the road just past the edge of town. A dark-colored sedan. At first, I barely noticed it. But as I passed, its headlights clicked on, illuminating the road behind me. The car pulled out onto the road. I didn't think much of it. Just another driver heading home late. I kept driving. Few minutes passed. The car stayed behind me. That was fine. Maybe they were going the same way. But then I switched lanes. They switched too. I slowed down. They slowed down. I sped up. So did they. Something about it felt off. I checked my rearview mirror. The car had no front plate. The windows were tinted, dark. I turned onto a smaller road, hoping they'd keep going straight. They didn't. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. Okay, maybe it was just coincidence. I pulled into a gas station pretending like I needed to stop. If they weren't following me, they'd just keep going. They didn't. They pulled into the gas station too. They didn't park, didn't get out, just sat there, watching. I sat there too, pretending to check my phone. My heart was beating fast. Now. I wasn't scared yet, just uneasy. A couple of minutes passed, then the car slowly pulled out of the lot. Relief washed over me. Maybe I was just paranoid. Maybe it was nothing. I waited a minute before heading back onto the road. Then, a mile down the road, the car was there, waiting, headlights off. As soon as I passed, the lights snapped on, and it pulled out behind me. My stomach dropped. This wasn't random. They were waiting for me. I sped up, my pulse pounding in my ears. The car matched my speed, turned sharply onto another street, hoping to lose them. They followed. Every turn, they stayed right behind me. I didn't know what to do. I pulled to the side of the road, pretending like I was about to step out and confront them. The car stopped too. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then their driver's side door opened. Just a crack. Then it shut. Then the engine roared, and the car charged at me. I barely had time to react. I leaped out of the way as the car shot past, missing me by inches. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I scrambled back into my car, threw it into reverse, and sped off in the opposite direction. The other car didn't follow. I didn't stop, driving until I made it back to the highway. By the time I had service again, I pulled over and called the police. They asked for a description, but I barely had anything to give them. A dark-colored sedan, no plate, tinted windows. They took the report, but I knew nothing would come of it. Whoever was in that car, they were gone. Or at least, they were gone that night. I made it home safely, but I didn't sleep much. And now, whenever I drive at night, I check my rearview mirror, every turn, every stoplight, because I don't know who they were, I don't know why they followed me, and I don't know if, one night, I'll see those headlights again. I first noticed the truck on the highway. It was old, rusted, headlights dim. I wouldn't have thought twice about it if I hadn't accidentally cut it off. A quick mistake, barely worth a honk. But the truck didn't honk. It just stayed behind me. I was heading home from work, exhausted. The usual 40-minute drive, nothing unusual. I switched lanes. The truck switched too. I slowed down. It slowed down. That's when I started paying attention. I changed lanes again. The truck followed. I told myself it was nothing. Just another driver heading the same way. But when I took my usual exit, a small road leading into a quieter area, the truck came with me. I checked the mirror. The driver's face was impossible to see behind the grime-covered windshield. I made 3 extra turns, random ones, just to be sure. The truck copied every single one. I could feel my heart picking up speed. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe it was just a coincidence. But I didn't want to test it. I pulled into a gas station, a bright place, people around, safety. I parked and watched the truck roll in a few seconds later. It didn't pull up to a pump. It didn't park in a normal spot. It just sat there, a few rows away, engine rumbling. I pretended to check my phone. Waited. 5 minutes. The truck didn't move. I couldn't see the driver. I got out of my car and walked inside. Bought a drink. Took my time. My hands were sweating. I glanced outside through the store window. The truck was still there, waiting. I considered asking for help. But help with what? Hey, I think this guy is following me. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe I was being crazy. So I took a deep breath and walked back to my car. The truck's engine roared to life as soon as I turned the key. I pulled out. So did he. This was real. I didn't go home. That was the only thing on my mind now. Do not go home. I drove aimlessly, making turn after turn. The truck followed, unrelenting. No headlights now, just a dark shape in the rearview mirror. I sped up. So did he. I ran a yellow light just before it turned red. The truck blew through the intersection right after me. My breathing turned shallow. This wasn't normal. This wasn't road rage. This was something else. I needed to lose him. I took a sharp turn onto a smaller road, one I didn't recognize. No streetlights, no houses, just open land. My phone had no service. The truck's engine roared behind me. I floored it, but the road was narrow and winding. Too dangerous. I couldn't go fast enough. Then the truck pulled ahead. It cut me off, skidding sideways, blocking the entire road. I slammed the brakes, tires screeching. My heart pounded in my chest. I was trapped. The truck door opened. A man stepped out. He didn't rush. He didn't yell. He just started walking toward me. I fumbled for my phone. Still no service. My fingers were shaking. The man kept walking, slow, deliberate. I couldn't see his face. I couldn't move. Then, pure instinct kicked in. I slammed the car into reverse, flooring it. The tires skidded. The car jerked, but I didn't stop. I spun the wheel hard, whipping the car around. I didn't look at the man. I just drove. Fast. Too fast. The truck disappeared behind me. I didn't stop. Not for miles. When I finally reached civilization, shaking, gasping for air, I pulled into a crowded parking lot and just sat there, gripping the wheel. I checked the mirror. No truck. No man. Nothing. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. An hour. The truck never appeared again. I drove home at sunrise. Every shadow on the road made my heart jump. I never saw that truck again. Never saw that man. But I still check my mirror every time I drive at night, because what if he's still out there? What if he's just waiting for next time? It started as just another late night. Mike and I had been at a small diner on the edge of town, eating greasy burgers and talking about nothing important. It was past midnight when we finally got in my car and headed home. The roads were mostly empty, just a few cars passing by. The kind of quiet that makes you notice every little sound. The hum of the engine, the faint whistle of wind through a cracked window. I didn't think much of the truck parked a few spaces away at the diner. But I noticed it again when we pulled onto the main road. It turned out right behind us. Mike was driving. He didn't seem to care, but I always pay attention to cars behind me, especially at night. 2 turns later, the truck was still there. "Little weird, huh?" I said. Mike glanced in the mirror. "Coincidence." Another turn. The truck followed. Now it wasn't a coincidence. My stomach tightened, but I tried to keep my voice normal. "Turn left up here." Mike did. So did the truck. We were on a quiet residential street now, lined with dark houses, most porch lights off. Mike's house was just ahead. He pulled into his driveway. The truck slowed down. Then it pulled over a few houses away. Just sat there, engine running. Mike killed the engine. Okay, that's creepy. We sat in silence for a few seconds, watching the truck in the rearview mirror. "You think we should..." I started. But then the truck's headlights flicked off. Just a dark shape in the street now. Waiting. Mike swallowed. "Dude, what the hell?" I felt my pulse in my neck. My first thought was to get out, go to Mike's house, lock the doors. But then what? That truck would still be out there. And now they knew where Mike lived. No, we had to lose them. "Drive," I said. Mike didn't argue. He turned the key, backed out, and took off down the street. I watched the truck. It waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then its engine growled back to life, and it started following again. This wasn't random. Mike took sharp turns through the neighborhood, cutting down streets at random. But the truck stayed with us, never rushing, never falling behind, like it had all the time in the world. "We have to shake him," I said. Mike nodded, knuckles white on the wheel. He turned onto a wider road, then suddenly veered into a small side street. Another left, another right, a cul-de-sac. The truck wasn't there. Mike exhaled. Jesus. We waited for a full minute. Nothing. "I think we lost him," Mike said. Neither of us laughed. It didn't feel funny. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m. "Let's go back. I'll drop you off, then get home." Mike didn't argue. He drove back to his house slower this time, checking every mirror. No truck. When we pulled up, I still had that bad feeling in my gut, but the street was empty. "You good?" Mike asked. I nodded. "Yeah. See you tomorrow." He got out, jogged up to his front door, and waved before stepping inside. The porch light flicked off. I started toward home. I turned right at the stop sign, then left onto the main road. Then I glanced in my rearview mirror. A truck. No headlights. My throat closed. It had been waiting. I gripped the wheel. My first instinct was to gun it, get away as fast as I could, but I knew that wouldn't work. We'd already tried. I had one option. I drove straight for a few blocks, keeping my speed normal. The truck kept pace, just a dark shape in the mirror. Then I turned. Not toward home, toward the police station. The truck followed. Every light turned, green as I approached, like the road wanted me to keep going. A few more minutes. Just a few more. Then, a sudden screech behind me, tires burning pavement. I looked back. The truck had stopped at an intersection, idling. Then it turned. It drove away. I didn't stop at the station. I pulled into the lot, sat there shaking. I waited. 10 minutes, 15, no truck. I took the longest, way home I could think of. Checked every mirror, every shadow. I didn't see it again, but I didn't sleep that night, because that truck had followed us. Not once, not twice. It had been waiting, and I still don't know why. I was driving back from a friend's place late at night. The road was empty, stretching out in front of me like a black ribbon. It was past 2 a.m., and the rain had been falling steadily for the past hour. My windshield wipers worked overtime, but visibility was still terrible. I wasn't in a hurry. There was no traffic, and the route was familiar, a winding road that followed the river for a few miles before cutting through a stretch of thick woods. I had driven it dozens of times before. I knew the curves, the dips, the occasional potholes. I also knew there weren't many houses along this road. That's why the car on the side of the road caught my attention. It was just sitting there, lights off, angled slightly towards the trees. At first, I thought it might be abandoned, but as I got closer, I saw someone standing next to it. A man. He was illuminated for a second by my headlights before I passed. He wasn't waving for help, wasn't trying to flag me down, just standing there. Something felt off. I checked my rearview mirror. The man was still there, unmoving. I slowed down. A part of me told me to keep driving, that it wasn't my problem, but another part, the part that still believed in basic human decency, told me to turn around. What if he needed help? Maybe his car had broken down. Maybe he had been in an accident. I sighed, made a U-turn, and pulled up a few feet behind his car. My headlights bathed him in white light. He was facing away from me, staring towards the river. His shirt was soaked, and not just from the rain. Even through the downpour, I could see it, dark patches of something that wasn't water. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. Blood. A lot of it. I hesitated before stepping out of the car. The cold hit me immediately, rain drenching my jacket within seconds. I approached slowly. "Hey, you okay?" The man didn't react. He kept staring at the river. I tried again. "Sir, do you need help?" This time he turned his head slightly. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. He looked exhausted. "I'm fine," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I glanced at his car. The driver's side door was open, but there was no sign of an accident. No deployed airbags, no dented hood. Just an empty vehicle and a man covered in blood. I took a cautious step closer. "You sure? You're bleeding." The man didn't answer. He turned back toward the river. I followed his gaze. The water was dark and fast-moving from the rain. The bank was steep, lined with jagged rocks. If he jumped, there was no way he'd survive. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. "Sir, let's get you out of the rain," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I can call someone for you." "No need," he murmured. The way he said it made my skin crawl, like he had already made up his mind. I took another step forward, careful not to spook him. "What happened? Did you get hurt?" He let out a small, humorless laugh. "Something like that." Lightning flashed overhead, illuminating everything for a split second. That's when I saw it, the deep gash running along his forearm. Just below the elbow. It was fresh, the blood mixing with rainwater as it dripped onto the pavement. My chest tightened. "You don't have to do this," I said. "Whatever's going on, we can figure it out." His shoulders tensed. He exhaled sharply. "You should go," he said. I shook my head. "Not happening." For the first time, he turned to face me completely. His eyes were unreadable, his expression a mixture of sadness and something else. Resignation. "You don't understand," he whispered. "Then help me understand." A long silence stretched between us. The rain kept falling, the river kept rushing, but in that moment, everything else seemed still. Finally, he spoke. "I wasn't supposed to live." The words sent a shiver down my spine. "What do you mean?" He looked past me, toward the road. "The crash, a few miles back. It should have killed me." I blinked. "What crash?" "My car hit a tree, spun out. Should have died." His voice was flat, like he wasn't talking about himself. I felt my stomach drop. There was no wreck. On the road. I hadn't seen anything like that on my way here. Just his car. "What are you saying?" I asked carefully. He didn't answer. Instead, he took a step toward the river. I moved without thinking, grabbing his arm before he could go any further. His skin was ice cold. "You're in shock," I said. "Come with me. We'll get you checked out." For a second, I thought he would resist. But then his shoulders slumped and he nodded. Okay. I helped him into my car, cranking the heat. He didn't say anything, just stared out the window, eyes distant. I dialed 911, gave them my location, and told them about the man I had found. The dispatcher's voice was calm. Too calm. "We're sending someone out now," she said. "Can you describe him?" I did. There was a pause. "Sir, are you sure that's what he looks like?" I frowned. "Yeah. Why?" Another pause. "There was a crash earlier tonight, around the area you mentioned." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. The driver didn't make it. The words didn't register at first. I glanced at the man, beside me. He was still staring at the rain, his expression unreadable. "That can't be right," I said. "He's sitting right next to me." Silence on the other end. Then softly, "Are you sure?" I turned back to the passenger seat. Was empty. The door was closed. The seat was dry. The only evidence that anyone had been there was the faint smell of rain and something metallic in the air. I didn't sleep that night. When the police arrived, they found the wreckage a few miles down the road, exactly where the man had said. The car was totaled, wrapped around a tree. The driver had died on impact, a man matching my description. I was driving home late at night on a 2-lane road that cut through miles of empty farmland. It was past 1 a.m., and the highway was dead. No other cars, just the occasional reflector post flashing by in my headlights. I liked driving at night. It was quiet, peaceful. I had driven this stretch plenty of times before. It was mostly straight, with a few gentle curves. No streetlights, no houses, just darkness and the sound of my tires against the asphalt. I wasn't tired, but I was zoning out a little, letting the road carry me forward. Then, out of nowhere, something moved in my peripheral vision. A man on a bicycle. He was riding on the shoulder, a few feet from the white line. His shirt was red, baggy, flapping a little in the wind. He wasn't wearing a helmet and I couldn't see his face. His posture was odd, hunched over, pedaling slow, like he wasn't really in a hurry. I tensed. There was no reason for someone to be out here on a bike this late. No houses for miles, no intersections. Just him, alone in the dark. I slowed down slightly, not wanting to pass too close. As I did, he swerved, right in front of me. I barely had time to react. I yanked the wheel left, tires skidding on the wet pavement. For a split second, I thought I hit him. I felt the impact, heard the sickening thud against the front of my car. My stomach lurched. I pulled over immediately, hands shaking. My heart was pounding as I threw the car into park and scrambled out. But the road was empty. The bike, the man, gone. I turned in circles, scanning the ditches, the fields, the darkness beyond my headlights. Nothing. My breath came fast. I checked the front of my car, expecting to see a dent, blood, something. But there was nothing. The hood was clean, the bumper intact. I knew what I had felt. I walked a few feet down the road, looking for any sign of him. Maybe he'd been thrown further. Maybe he was hurt. But the field stretched out, undisturbed, the tall grass swaying gently in the wind. Then I heard it, the faint sound of bicycle wheels spinning. It was coming from behind me. I turned slowly. My headlights were still on, casting a yellow glow across the pavement. And there, just at the edge of the light, was the bicycle, standing upright. No rider. I took a step back, my pulse hammering. The bike wasn't moving, wasn't tipping over, just standing there, balanced perfectly on 2 wheels in the middle of the road. Then it started to roll. No one was pushing it. No wind, no incline. It rolled toward me, slowly at first, then picking up speed. I backed away fast, tripping slightly, as I scrambled for my car. My hands fumbled with the door handle, and just as I got inside and slammed it shut, the bike toppled over, crashing onto the pavement just a few feet away. I locked the doors. My breathing was ragged, my hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. I didn't know what to do. I could still hear the faint creak of the wheels turning, the chain rattling slightly. I forced myself to take a deep breath. This was ridiculous. I had imagined the impact. Maybe the bike had been there all along. Maybe I just hadn't seen it. Maybe I looked up. In my rearview mirror, just beyond the glow of my taillights, someone was standing in the road. A man. His red shirt was torn, one sleeve hanging loose. His arms dangled at his sides. He wasn't moving. He was just staring at me. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to go. I threw the car into drive and slammed my foot on the gas. My tires screeched as I pulled away, my heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't look back. I pushed the speed limit all the way home, only letting myself breathe normally once I reached my driveway. The moment I turned off the engine, I sat there in silence, hands still gripping the wheel. Had I really seen him? Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe I had imagined it all, the impact, the bike, the man in the mirror. But as I stepped out of the car and turned to go inside, something caught my eye, a single streak of red, smudged across my front bumper. It wasn't paint. It was past 2 a.m. when I took the back roads home. I had made this drive before, long stretches of empty road, barely any houses, just fields and woods on either side. It was the kind of road where you didn't see another car for miles. I liked driving at night. Less traffic, just me, the hum of the engine, and the road ahead. The only downside was the stories. People talked about weird things happening on these roads. Mostly nonsense. Old urban legends about ghostly hitchhikers or disappearing headlights. I never paid much attention. Then I saw the family. I came around a curve, and there they were. A man, a woman, and 2 little kids standing on the side of the road. I hit the brakes immediately, heart lurching. My headlights lit them up, just standing there, holding hands, looking up at the sky. I had a split second to take it in. The father was tall, wearing slacks and a button-up. The mother wore a dress, old-fashioned, maybe 1950s style. The kids, maybe 6 or 7 years old, were in pajamas. They shouldn't have been there. There were no houses nearby, no cars parked along the road. Just them. I rolled down my window. "Hey, are you okay?" They didn't react. Didn't even look at me. Just kept staring up at the sky. A weird feeling crawled over me. Maybe they were in shock. Maybe they had been in an accident. I glanced past them, looking for any sign of a wreck, but the road was clear. I put my car in park, leaving the engine running. "Do you need help?" No response. The mother was holding the little girl's hand. The father held the boy's. Their fingers were interlocked, tight, too tight. The way you'd hold on if you were afraid of losing someone. I opened my door and stepped out. "Do you need a ride somewhere?" The father finally moved. He turned his head toward me just slightly. Not enough for me to see his face. Something about it made my stomach twist. The mother didn't move at all. Neither did the kids. They just stood there, still as statues. The back of my neck prickled. This wasn't right. I took a step back toward my car. "I can call someone for you." The father turned a little more. The headlights caught the edge of his jaw. His skin looked wrong, too smooth. Like wax. A feeling of dread settled in my gut. I didn't want to see his face. I didn't want him to turn all the way. Slowly, carefully, I got back in my car. My hands were shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. I put it in drive. The father tilted his head, just slightly, like he was listening. Then, at the same time, all 4 of them turned. Not their heads, their entire bodies, all at once, like marionettes on strings, facing me. I slammed my foot on the gas. My tires screeched against the pavement as I sped off, heart hammering. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to see if they were still watching me, or worse, if they were following. I made it home in record time, locked the doors, and sat in silence, trying to make sense of what I had seen. No explanation made sense. They weren't real. They couldn't be. The next day, I checked the news. No reports of missing people. No accidents. Nothing. But when I went out to my car, there was something on my windshield. A single child's handprint, smudged in dirt, too small to be mine. I had been driving for hours. The highway was long and empty. The kind of road where the only company you had was your own thoughts. It was just past midnight, and I was about an hour from home. The last town I passed through was the kind that shut down early. A few scattered houses, a single gas station, and streetlights that barely cut through the darkness. I didn't stop. I wasn't tired, just restless. I wanted to get home. The road stretched ahead, lined with trees on both sides. My headlights were the only source of light. There was no moon, no stars, just the endless black sky and the hum of my tires against the pavement. Then my radio cut out. At first, I thought it was a bad signal, just static breaking through the music. But then the static got louder, a low, hissing sound that filled the car. I reached for the dial, trying to tune it out, but before I could touch it, something changed. A whisper. Soft, barely audible under the static. I froze. My fingers hovered over the dial, heart pounding. The whisper wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from behind me. I turned the radio off. The car fell into silence, but the uneasy feeling in my gut didn't fade. I swallowed hard and focused on the road. Just my mind playing tricks on me. Too many hours alone. Too much quiet. Then the temperature dropped. Not gradually. Suddenly. 1 second, the car was warm. The next, the air was freezing. My breath fogged up in front of me. My fingers stiffened on the wheel. I glanced at the dashboard. The heater was still on. A chill ran through me. I reached for the vents, trying to adjust the settings. That's when I caught the reflection in the rearview mirror. A woman, sitting in my back seat. I sucked in a sharp breath. My hands jerked on the wheel, and the tires skidded slightly on the wet pavement. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it, in my ears. I looked again. She was still there. She sat perfectly still, her hands resting in her lap. Her skin was pale, almost gray, and her dark hair hung in damp strands around her face. Her eyes, wide and hollow, stared straight at me. My throat closed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles turning white. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to stop the car, to get out and run. But I couldn't. I was in the middle of nowhere, alone on a deserted road, and she was still there. My pulse thundered in my ears. I forced myself to look straight ahead, focusing on the road. My breathing was shallow, uneven. I needed to stay calm. Minutes passed, maybe longer. She didn't move, didn't blink. Then, slowly, she raised her hand. Her fingers were too long, thin, bone white. She reached toward me. I yanked my eyes away from the mirror and slammed my foot on the gas. The engine roared as the car surged forward. The trees blurred past, the road stretching endlessly ahead. I didn't care how fast I was. Going. I just needed to get away. And then, she screamed. A shrill, ear-piercing wail filled the car. It wasn't just sound. It was inside my head, rattling my skull, vibrating through my bones. My vision blurred. I nearly lost control of the car. The tires skidded as I struggled to keep it steady. Then, just as suddenly, silence. The freezing. Air lifted. The car smelled like rain. I forced myself to look in the mirror. She was gone. I drove the rest of the way home without stopping. I barely breathed. My hands were shaking when I pulled into my driveway. I sat there in the dark, gripping the wheel, trying to convince myself it hadn't happened. But I knew it had. The next morning, I checked the back seat. Nothing. No sign of her. No trace that anyone had ever been there. But when I shut the car door, I noticed something on the fogged-up window. A single handprint, too long, too thin, not mine. I was driving home late at night, a long stretch of highway ahead of me. It was a 2-hour trip, one I had made dozens of times before. I didn't mind night driving. In fact, I preferred it. No traffic, no noise, just me and the road. That night, the road felt different. The sky was moonless, the darkness thick. My headlights cut through it, but only barely. The trees on either side of the road loomed tall, their outlines barely visible. It was the kind of night that made everything feel just a little too quiet. I had been driving for about an hour when I saw him. A man standing on the side of the road. He was just outside the reach of my headlights, his form barely visible against the darkness. He didn't have a car, no bags, nothing that suggested he was a stranded traveler. He was just there. His clothes looked old, slacks and a button-up shirt, wrinkled and loose on his thin frame. He wasn't holding a sign, wasn't trying to flag me down. He just stood there, staring at the ground. I passed him quickly, my headlights briefly illuminating his face. Or at least, I think it was a face. Something about it was wrong. The shape was there. A nose, a mouth, two eyes. But it was blurred, like an old photograph that had faded over time. My brain struggled to make sense of it, as if it couldn't fully process what I had just seen. A chill crawled down my spine. I kept driving. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe I was just tired. I shook it off and focused on the road. Then, a few miles later, I saw him again. Same clothes, same stance, same blurred face, standing by the side of the road. I felt my stomach drop. That wasn't possible. There were no turnoffs, no side roads. I hadn't passed any cars. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of me. I pressed my foot harder on the gas. The road stretched on, empty and unchanging. The only sound was the hum of my engine and the rhythmic thud of my tires against the pavement. I kept my hands tight on the wheel, my pulse picking up speed. 15 minutes passed, then 20. I started to breathe easier, convincing myself I had imagined the second sighting. And then, he was there again, closer this time. Standing just at the edge of the road, his feet almost touching the white line. I saw his face more clearly now. His eyes, if that's what they were nothing but dark, empty spaces. I didn't slow down, didn't check my mirrors, didn't look back. The temperature inside my car dropped. The air felt heavier. My breath fogged up slightly in front of me. My fingers were stiff, my knuckles white from gripping the wheel. I checked the clock. 40 minutes from home. I just had to make it 40 minutes. I kept driving, my heart hammering in my chest. And then, a shape in the road ahead. My stomach lurched. I slammed my foot on the brake. The car skidded slightly before coming to a stop. My headlights lit up the figure standing directly in my path. Him. This time, he was facing me. His head was tilted slightly as if curious. The empty sockets where his eyes should have been seemed deeper now, darker. My hands shook on the wheel. I didn't move. Then, slowly, he took a step forward. A deliberate, steady step. Then another. A tight, suffocating panic settled in my chest. Threw the car into reverse, my tires screeching as I backed up. I blinked, and he was gone. Just gone. The road was empty. I didn't stop to question it. I shifted back into drive and hit the gas, speeding the rest of the way home. When I finally pulled into my driveway, I turned off the engine and sat there, trying to slow my breathing. My hands were still shaking. My skin was cold. I tried to convince myself I had imagined it. That exhaustion had played tricks on me. But when I stepped out of the car, I noticed something. On the back window, a handprint. Too large, too long. Not mine.
My name is Mark Ellerby. I write about planes, not the fancy kind with lie flat seats, the broken ones. Crashes, missing flights, pilot mistakes, anything people stop talking about after a few days. I used to work for a newspaper. Then I had a breakdown. Now I run a small blog. A few hundred regulars read it. It's enough. 3 months ago, I read a news brief about a small charter plane, Flight 314, that vanished on a route from Whitehorse to Vancouver. 4 people on board. Clear weather. No mayday. Just gone. That's not normal. Planes don't just vanish, especially in Canadian airspace. I bookmarked it, figured I'd look into it later. When I checked back a week later, the article was gone. I contacted a guy I knew at NAV Canada. He owed me a favor. He sent me basic radar data. The official flight path said the plane flew straight south, but the radar data showed something else. The plane veered west after about 40 minutes. Then the signal cut out. No altitude drop, no turn back, just stopped. I called around, no one was talking. Not the airline, not the local authorities. I got short emails, vague answers. Under investigation. Nothing further to share. So I kept going. I found the pilot's name, Tom Reiner. Flew small charters for over 10 years. No accidents. His sister Dana lived in Edmonton. I emailed her. She called me the next day. He called me the morning of the flight, she said. Said something felt wrong. She didn't know what he meant, he didn't explain. Just told her he was uneasy. She also said there was a fifth person on board. I know what was in the news, 4 people. But Tom told me someone else got on at the last minute. No name. Just walked on and handed the gate staff some kind of clearance. Letter. She tried getting answers after the disappearance. The airline stopped answering her calls. Then they stopped returning her messages entirely. Things got strange after that. I requested the plane's maintenance logs. A few days later, someone broke into my apartment. They didn't take anything. Not my laptop, not my camera. Not even the cash I stupidly kept in a kitchen drawer. But the folder with my Flight 314 notes? Gone. Cleaned out. I thought maybe I'd misplaced it. But then I noticed my front lock had been scratched, like someone forced it open with a tool. That night, an envelope was slid under my door. No stamp, no name. Typed on a single sheet of paper. Stop asking questions. I drove up to the airstrip, where the plane departed. A hangar guy named Rob agreed to talk, but only off the record. That aircraft shouldn't have flown, he said. We flagged it for transponder issues a week before, so why did it fly? Someone signed it off, he said. From higher up, one of the corporate names I didn't recognize. I asked for a copy of the report. He said he'd deleted it after the flight vanished. Didn't want to be involved. Back in Vancouver, I wrote up a draft. It wasn't perfect, but it had enough to raise eyebrows. Radar logs, Dana's testimony, Rob's statement. I emailed it to 3 people I trusted. No replies. One email bounced back. Account not found. I called Dana. Her number was disconnected. Tried logging into my blog to post the draft. The page was down. When I contacted the hosting company, they told me I'd submitted a deletion request. I hadn't. That's when I stopped sleeping. I'd sit by the window and listen to street noise. Kept thinking about that last minute of radar data, a hard veer west, no drop, no signal bounce. Like the plane hit something that didn't leave a trace. I remembered Dana's voice. He said something didn't feel right. And that extra passenger, who didn't want to be on record. I printed out everything I still had. Paper copies, backup flash drive. I mailed them to Dana's last address. The envelope came back a week later. Return to sender, no such number. I packed a bag and left the city, stayed in motels, used cash. I didn't know who I was hiding from. I didn't even know if anyone was looking for me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had wanted this flight forgotten, and they were doing a good job of it. Eventually, I stopped chasing it. I posted one final story on a free throwaway site. It said, Flight 314 didn't crash. It was redirected. I don't know where or why. I only know someone doesn't want it found. They pulled records. They made people disappear. If this post goes offline, you'll know I was right. Here's what I have. Radar, logs, testimony. Decide for yourself. Then I shut my laptop. That was 2 months ago. I still get emails from people asking for updates. I don't answer. I travel a lot, mostly for photography. Old buildings, empty streets, crumbling churches, that kind of thing. I also run a small blog, nothing huge. A few thousand people follow for the photos and the stories I post with them. Sometimes I get paid gigs. Most of the time, I'm just passing through. Last September, I was in Cincinnati to shoot an abandoned church scheduled for demolition. It was supposed to be a quick stop. One night, maybe two. Every hotel downtown was full because of some tech expo. I ended up booking a place called the Dunning Hotel. Cheap, off the main strip, and honestly looked like it hadn't been updated since the early 90s, but it was available. And I've stayed in worse. The front desk guy barely looked up when I walked in, just handed me a key, an actual key, not a card, and mumbled something about the elevator sticking. My room was on the second floor, room 209. The hallway smelled like bleach and rust. The carpet squished a little when I stepped on it, like someone had spilled something that never dried. I opened the door. The room was small. Faded yellow wallpaper, heavy curtains, a TV that didn't work. The bed looked clean, which was all I cared about. I dropped my bag, took a few photos for the blog. Old lamp, broken phone, creepy mirror. I even made a dumb joke in the caption, "If I disappear, start with this place." That night, around 2:15 a.m., I heard footsteps outside my door. Not walking, dragging, like someone half limping down the hallway. I sat up and listened. The sound stopped outside my room. I waited. No knock, no footsteps moving away. Just silence. Got up, opened the door. Hall was empty. Next morning, I saw a maid in the stairwell and asked her, "What's the story with room 209? She paused. Then she said, "They don't usually put people in that one." I asked why. She just shrugged and walked away. Back in my room, I started Googling. Not much on the hotel. It wasn't even on Google Maps anymore, just buried under a TripAdvisor listing with no recent reviews. I found an old forum thread from 2004 about a woman who disappeared from room 209. No body, no trace. Police said maybe she ran off. Family said she was stable, had no reason to. I found 3 more stories like that. Different years. Always room 209. I figured it made for a decent blog entry. I wrote up a post. Haunted hotel or bad luck, and added my room shots. Nothing dramatic, just observations. That night, I set up my phone to record while I slept. I don't usually do that, but something felt off. I woke up around 7 a.m. The closet door was wide open. I didn't remember opening it. I checked the video. At 3:14 a.m. I sat up, got out of bed, and walked straight to the closet. Then I just stood there for 47 minutes, swaying a little. Then I went back to bed. I had no memory of it. I replayed the video 3 times. Near the end, there's a single frame, just one, where something appears in the mirror behind me. A face, close, pressed against the glass. Mouth open, eyes wrong. Gone the next second. That was the first time I felt scared. Real scared. I packed up my stuff and tried to check out, but no one was at the front desk. The lobby was empty, phone dead, Wi-Fi gone. My service bar had a red X through it. I went back upstairs. That's when I noticed something behind the closet wall. The wood was loose, like someone had kicked it in. I pulled it back and found a gap, like a hidden maintenance shaft, just a few feet wide. Inside I found a phone, old, scratched, still powered on. Gallery had 24 videos, all of them filmed in this room. Different women, all alone, talking to the camera, some laughing, most nervous. One video showed a girl, whispering, "Don't look at the mirror, don't listen if it knocks." Another one showed someone screaming, running at the door and which didn't open. The last video was blurry, just a girl curled up in the corner whispering over and over, "It doesn't like when you leave." I ran. Tried the elevator. It came. Doors opening slow. I hit the lobby button. The elevator dropped, then jerked to a stop. Doors opened. I was back on the second floor. But something was wrong. The hallway looked older, dustier. Lights flickered. The carpet was torn up, like no one had walked here in years. I stepped out. All the room doors were closed. No numbers. except mine. 9. I ran to the stairwell, blocked by a locked gate. I started hearing sounds. Scratching, whispering, something crawling. Back in the room, I locked the door, sat on the bed, tried not to cry. Then the mirror went black, not like it turned off, like it swallowed light. I couldn't see my reflection. Then a shape moved behind. A hand pressed against the glass. Long fingers, wrong angles, then it started tapping. Slow. Rhythmic. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks again. I covered the mirror with the blanket. Sat in the bathroom for an hour, holding my phone even though it was still dead. I must have passed out. I woke up to sunlight. The door opened easily. Wi-Fi was back. My phone had one new notification. Instagram had posted a story from my account. A photo of me in the mirror, smiling. The closet door wide open behind me. I left without checking out. Took a train to a friend's place in Dayton. I didn't tell her what happened. Just said I was feeling off. I didn't post the footage. I didn't mention the hotel again. That night I started getting comments on the blog post. Is this real? She's next. Room 209 got another one. I deleted the post, but it didn't help. The video, the one with me at the closet, it started circulating. I never uploaded it, but someone did. Now it's everywhere. Sometimes I wake up standing in closets, in bathrooms. My phone takes pictures when I'm sleeping. I see faces in the background. The hotel doesn't show up online anymore. No bookings, no address. But every now and then, someone tags me in a new post. Different city, different hotel, always the same number. Room 209. I never really believed in identity crises. Seemed like a dramatic term for people who needed something to post about. I had 2 parents, a decent job, and a 1-bedroom apartment with a crooked floorboard I always tripped over in the dark. Life was fine, boring maybe, predictable, until the DNA test. It started as a joke, a team-building gimmick from HR. Find your roots Friday. Everyone in the office got a 23 true test kit. Spit in a tube, mail it off, and in a few weeks, learn. You're 4% Scandinavian or whatever. I didn't expect anything, just hoped for an excuse to say I was part Viking. 3 weeks later, the email came in. Your results are ready. I clicked the link while waiting for my lunch to microwave. 0 matches. Not just with my family, why, with anyone. The site said it couldn't find a single immediate or extended relative. Like I'd been dropped from the sky. I stared at the screen thinking there had to be a mistake. So I tried again. Different service this time. Gene form. New sample, new test. Same process. 2 weeks later, same result. No biological relationship. Found to submitted parent profiles. I didn't tell my parents. I wasn't ready for that conversation. Instead, I requested my birth certificate. It arrived 2 days later. Place of birth, Portland General. Only there were no hospital records to back that up. I called, emailed, even showed up at the records office. They had no record of a Theo Granger being born there. Nothing. No delivery. No infant registration. Nada. I work in cybersecurity. I know how to look for hidden things. I dug into archived Oregon health registries, and that's when I found it. A line item under Infant Transfers, Emergency Facilities, 1997. One entry stood out. Granger, toast rerouted from Dellingham Family Wellness Center. I had never heard of Dellingham. A 2-hour drive south, buried in forest and fog. I found some grainy forum posts about a fire there in '97. The wellness center burned down. 6 infant fatalities. No survivors, except maybe me. I took a Friday, off and drove out early. Dellingham looked like it had been half forgotten by time. Old gas station, a diner called Marlene's, and a boarded-up general store. The wellness center ruins sat behind a chain-link fence. Burnt walls still stood in some places. The roof was long gone. Vines crawled over scorched bricks like they were trying to erase the place. I parked and climbed the fence. Inside, everything was cold stone and ash. In the back, where the basement stairs had collapsed, I found a crawl space and dropped into it. The air was still. Not dusty. Still. Like the space had never breathed again after the fire. I don't know why I started digging in the debris. Maybe because I needed something real. Something to confirm I wasn't insane. And I found it. A photo, sealed in melted plastic. 6 babies lined up in clear cribs, each marked with a black number, 1 through 6. The 4th baby, the one in the middle. I knew that face. I had a baby photo just like it in my mom's photo album, down to the faint freckle near the eye. I found a name under the scorched paper. Project Thalos. Back in town, I tracked down a local historian named David Keel. He worked in the back of the library, surrounded by shelves of forgotten maps and microfilm. I showed him the photo. His face went gray. They called them the clean children, he said. Whole thing was hush-hush, funded by some biotech firm, maybe even state-backed. It wasn't just a wellness center. They were experimenting, trying to build better people. I didn't say anything. Rumor was, he continued, they picked certain kids, altered them, changed things. Behavior, immunity, intelligence. One day, fire, all records gone, everyone shut up. Anyone ever investigated? They tried, but by the time the feds got involved, the key players vanished. Doctor leading it, Rena Kale, moved to the East Coast, changed her name. I drove back home with that photo burning a hole in my bag. That night I asked my mom if she remembered anything strange about my birth. She went silent. Then her hands started shaking. "You're my son," she said. "But we didn't give birth to you. They said it was legal, confidential adoption. We were just so desperate to have a baby." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded and went to my room. My laptop was open. I hadn't left it that way. The next day, the hard drive was wiped. 2 days later, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. "Don't go any further. You are lucky to be who you are." I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. I contacted a journalist who covered medical corruption. Sent him copies of the photo, my birth records, everything I had. He agreed to meet the following Friday. Thursday night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. He won't be coming. I checked the news. The journalist, Dan Rivera, had been reported missing. Last seen outside his apartment. I packed a go bag the next morning and disappeared. Hotels, cash only. Burner phones, but I wasn't done. I dumped everything online. Encrypted files, time-stamped research logs, names, photos, Reddit, Twitter, hacker forums. The story went viral for a day. Some people believed me, most didn't. Conspiracy theorist, hoaxer, mental breakdown. The usual, but I kept watching, waiting. 3 months later, I was in a city I won't name, sitting in a park just before sunset. I saw a boy chasing pigeons. Couldn't have been older than 5. Same freckle by his eye, same jawline, same wide stare when he saw me. His mother caught up to him. She looked at me, confused at first. Then her face changed. Recognition. She took the boy's hand and walked away. No words, just a slow, knowing nod. They didn't make just one of us. I don't know how many are out there, but they're watching, and they never stopped.